I'm a rumor, but you never know. I'm still human. Thank you so much. Thank you for being here. I am excited. Before I get started, I really want to express my gratitude to everyone here, not just for this moment, for all the moments that we've had in the past. Thank you, Pigeon Forge Chamber. Thank you, my wife, for being here, and especially higher power, God and universe, because without it, I know that none of this exists at all. The other day, I was in the driveway, and I see my wife, and she's standing there, and she's kind of doing her thing, not paying much attention to me, which I can't stand. And I know one thing for a fact. My wife absolutely cannot stand when I scare her. It's something that just drives her crazy. But I also know one other thing is it's one of my most favorite things to do. I love it. Well, in this particular situation, I walked up behind her, and I get her, and I scare her, and she wasn't expecting it. And she flies around, and she's holding a frying pan in her hand. Now, we're in the driveway, which we're kind of an awkward family in general. But she's got this frying pan, and I see this, and now I know I have just created a scenario that I shouldn't be in. And sometimes you fight, and sometimes you run. In this moment, I was going to run. Turns out she can throw a frying pan, too. In that moment, that thing came winging out, and I figured I was being quite the ninja, but not quite good enough, and it catches me right in my calf and drops me to the ground. And all I could do was laugh. I was very impressed with the fact that she was willing to throw it at me, actually. And so that takes me to the next morning. The next morning, I wake up. It's about 5 o'clock in the morning. It's time to work out, and I go to get out of bed. And I step down. I feel, that frying pan's hurt, actually. I get dressed, and I've got a plan. I'm going to do my 3-mile jog in the morning. And so I go out in the driveway, the sun's not there, everything is just black, and I had this plan, and as I'm standing there, I can feel this pain constantly. It's just getting worse. And I don't know about you, but it's really easy to not work out. I can motivate myself, and I'm standing there, and I say, you know what? I just don't want to do this. I'm hurting. It's her fault. I can go inside, I can get some sympathy, but okay, wait, I gotta get healthy. This is for me. Instead of 3 miles, I'm gonna do 1. I'm gonna do 1 mile, and I'll still accomplish something. I'll feel good about myself. So I start my jog. And in this moment, I start going. It's kind of a hobbled limp. It's hurting, but I'm pushing through. And in my neighborhood for this jog, there's this huge hill. And even in the best of health, it's a chore. But I start pushing up it, and I'm going, and my motivation is at the top of the hill is the 1 mile marker, and I know I'm done at that moment. I can cash it in, I can go home, and as I'm getting closer to the top, I'm building more of a resentment against my wife because it's hurting even more, and it's more, and I get to the top, and I see it. I see that my 1 mile, it's almost there. And as I get closer, I start to think, I have made it this far. And it hurts, but I got to go this direction anyway. I might as well go do 2. I might as well do 2 miles because I'm here. It hurts. Whatever. Just push through. As I push through, I don't get 50 yards, and all of a sudden, I start being attacked by all these, probably gnats. In the moment, it was almost these devil bugs that I'm just running into. And I can't say they were attacking me. They were probably just doing their bug thing, but I was attacking them. And they're going into my hair. They're going in my eyes. They're covering my shirt. I'm swallowing them. I'm in pain. I'm limping. And I can't figure out what's going on. I've never had this experience in a jog. And I have to pull my shirt up over my face. And I have to keep going. And it was so uncomfortable. And the more that I kept hitting these waves and waves, it just got more and more uncomfortable. But I'm going to push through. I've already started my 2nd mile. I'm going to push through this. It was uncomfortable, but I can do it. And I kept going. And then in this jog, so it goes, I'm now almost home. I see the split. There's a road to the left. That's the end of 2 miles. I can go to the right and go home. And as I get closer, I say, you know what? I've gone this far. I started this. When I was standing in the driveway, it was to do 3 miles. And I can do it. I know I can. I'm hurting. I'm uncomfortable. But I need to go the full thing what I started. So I crossed that third mile. I'm still hitting these waves above. The sun's starting to come out. And next thing you know, and I'm a pretty tough guy, honestly. But in this moment, bats start flying overhead. And I don't know the toughest of, well, you give me one bat and I'm going to flinch. You give me half a dozen bats and I'm scared. Mind you, the bugs are everywhere. These bats are flying over my head. It's the most insane jog that I've ever experienced. But I know I'm going to push through now. And now, in fact, I'm picking up my pace because now I'm pretty scared about what's going on. I start to turn the corner and I see my house coming up. The sunrise is there. And I'm pushing through. I'm just going to hit it. My limp's hurting more than it has. The leg's killing me. And I get to the top of my driveway. And all of a sudden in that moment, I'm just filled. I start to become overwhelmed. And I start to think of what I've experienced in this small little speck of my life. A nothing moment that I really had no intention of even starting when I stood in the driveway. And I went, it's interesting. I started off and I was hurting. And I know hurt in my life. I've had a lot of it. But in that moment of hurt, I decided that I could put one more foot in front of the other and I could move forward. And as I was hurting, I came into a situation where I got really uncomfortable. But I could push forward. And then all of a sudden, in this third part of my journey, almost like clockwork, I was just in fear. And I know fear so well. But I was able to push forward. And through every situation that I got into, all of those situations I put myself in. It was no one else's fault. It was something that I chose to do. It was my decision to even start the run in the first place. Now, being hurt, I could find a reason to blame my wife, which is always fun, but I even caused the pain. And I got instantly just filled with this joy. This is my life. I've just defined everything that I do in this one moment. I get really excited, and I go running into the house. I run up the stairs. The wife's laying on the couch. She's getting ready to start her day. And I throw on the kitchen light. Honey, you're never going to believe this. She gets so excited. She jumps up. She runs into the kitchen. And instantly I hear her start screaming at me. And I'm like, what's going on? And it turns out that all those bugs that I was running into were still alive. And I was this living bug man. And she kicked me out of the house. So I start this story because that's how I perceive life. Every moment that I come into, I think that there is something to be said that there is always something to appreciate in every moment. What I have learned is that my higher power, my God, is nothing but love. And every situation that I go into is filled with it. Now there's all this human stuff. There's all this stuff that is easy to get bogged down in, to get nervous, to get upset, to know it's not going the way that I want it. But I have to be responsible in finding the love in every situation and try to experience that. So that's kind of how I look at moments. And I know a lot of this presentation was, who is Andrew Parrott? I'm a guy who knows what a Kimber 45 tastes like. You know, I've repeated this speech a few times and I've practiced it, and every time I say those words, I can still feel the metal on my 2 front teeth. I can still feel what it tastes like to have a steel gun sitting in my mouth. I'm a guy that knows fear. I know what it's like to absolutely be terrified of tomorrow. Because tomorrow was the absolute worst thing that you could ever tell me that existed. Because I knew when I woke up, I was going to have to experience every single thing that I just experienced in this day. And son, I am tired. I don't like it. I know what it's like to sit in that fetal position on the floor by myself, crying as I'm trying my best to drink as much as I possibly can just to have the pain stop, numb, go away, pass out, and just don't let me have to deal with tomorrow, because that is an evil place. And I know what it's like to be violent. And violent in a way where when I had someone on the ground and I'm hitting them and I'm kicking them and they're bleeding and they're looking at me and they're crying and they're begging me, please stop, don't do this anymore, just stop hitting me, that I felt better than them. That I had something that I could validate myself with. I was more powerful. I was better than you. If I could break you, if I could hurt you, good. I've got something. And I didn't always win. I wasn't even that good. And when I would get someone else would have the upper hand, and I would just get hit and beaten, and I would end up with black eyes and hurt face and this, I almost liked that even more. Because I felt like I was getting exactly what I deserved. Because I was broken. And most of all, I'm a guy that remembers walking through just life and seeing all of you, walking into situations like this, driving and seeing people smile, and absolutely hating all of you. Because I didn't understand how you could be smiling. How do you enjoy this? How do you enjoy this world? Why are you excited? Why are you holding hands and laughing and seem to be enjoying this place that is so dark and so painful and has absolutely nothing to offer? Because all I knew I wanted to do was go away. And I wanted to numb it all out. If I could not feel, that was the greatest place I could possibly be. Because I had a hole in me that I could not fill with anything. All the violence, all the hate, all the drugs, everything never was enough. You know, when I was asked to speak at this, in front of people that I care about, that I love to hug, in front of people that are my clients, that are my friends, I was scared. I mean, I'm scared right now. It's uncomfortable. And I was asked to share what it is that I am. Well, the reality of it is I'm an absolute walking miracle. I can't tell you how many times I've tried to commit suicide. And not the kind of suicide where I tied a rope around my neck, threw it up, and I jumped and the rope broke and I could just, whoa, I guess that wasn't the moment. The kind of suicide where I would push every single thing I did to the absolute very edge. I would push it to the point where everyone said, you shouldn't do that. You're going to die. Don't do that much. You'll never survive that much. You know what? That's okay. I'm going to the very extreme because that's the way that I had to do it because I do not want to deal with tomorrow. And I would beg to die. But I kept waking up. And I kept going forward. The person you know today, I'm a high school dropout. I'm a drug addict. I'm a drug dealer. I was kicked out of college. I was a thief. I robbed cars. I robbed houses. I mugged people. I broke people as often as I possibly could. I'm a guy that was homeless. I know what it's like to eat out of trash cans. I know what it's like to walk into a fast food restaurant, look at the menu, and know I can't afford anything there, but I can grab handfuls of ketchup packets. And you know what? It's something. And sit there and suck in ketchup packets going, at least it's something in my body that might just allow me to keep pushing forward for another day. I was violent. And if I could beat you, I was happier. And I can remember the time that I was laying in the hospital bed after an overdose, staring at the nurse and begging, please, I guess this is it. Could you, I want to live now. Now I want to live. Can you fix me? And while you're fixing me, could you look at my soul and fix it? Because it overdosed a long time ago and it died. And if you could please just fix that, then maybe I'm going to be okay. And that was my life. Up until December 20th, 1999. I had been up for probably 3 or 4 days. Been drinking all day, and I was in my Ford Ranger. And I'm going down, this is in Tucson, Arizona, it's a 4-lane highway, and I'm driving down the street. I've got a couple people with me. And all of a sudden, this minivan pulls up next to me. And we're just going down the street, I'm not really paying attention, until he starts to swerve into my lane. We would probably know it now as a texting swerve, because we see it all the time, but back then this is pre-texting. And as he swerves into my lane, I'm filled with this rage. How dare he even attempt to come into me? Are you kidding me? Doesn't he know that this guy doesn't take that? Does he know how bad I am, how tough I am, how mad I am, and how dark this world is? And in that moment, I start pulling my truck towards him. I start instantly just moving right into him as if I'm just going we're either I'm running into him or we're going across oncoming traffic. And I start pushing him and he follows. He doesn't know what's going on. I can only assume. And I push him right into oncoming traffic. And we go through that. We land into a Shell station. He peels out. I jump out of my truck and I run over to him. And I start hitting him through his window. I open his door, I pull him out of his van, and I start hitting him, and I'm kicking him, and I'm just letting him know how much he needs to hurt because of how much I couldn't stand me. And in this moment, the police came in. And they jump out. They put me in handcuffs. They break it up. I knew what was going to happen. I was mad. I'm staring at this guy, and he's beaten, he's hurting. And the police ask him, so you want to press charges against this kid? And in that moment, this guy who I wanted nothing more than to be dead looks into my face. He says, no. I just want to see my family. I didn't know I was hitting an angel at the time. But in that moment, I became so clear. As if everything had just changed in my world. As much as I hated him, everything became real as to what I had become. The police, they booked me. They took me down to the station. They released me, and I was so clear. For the first time in my life, I had finally figured out truly that it wasn't all of you who I was hating. And it wasn't anyone else. It was me. I hated me. And I hated everything that I had created. But I was so grateful to finally have a plan. And I walked to my Desert Cove Apartments in Tucson, Arizona. I walk in the door. I get into my bathroom. I had a big bottle of Vicodin. Yeah, it's a bottle of Vicodin. I took all those. I had a bottle of codeine. I drank the entire bottle of codeine. I went to my bed where I kept a bottle of Old Crow whiskey next to me that I used to wake up every morning with, and I drank the entire bottle of that. And I laid on my bed, and I can remember laying there, looking up, and saying, please, God, let my dad know it's not his fault. He tried his very best, and he did a lot to try to save me. And he did a lot to try to make a respectable, good kid. But he didn't know he was working with broken parts. He didn't know that I was just too broken to be fixed. So let him know that this isn't his fault. That it's okay for me to go. Because there's a guy who's got to go see his family. The next morning I woke up. And if I was mad the day before, I was really mad now. It turned out I couldn't even kill myself right. But I knew one thing I could do. And I fell out of my bed. Turns out I had defecated myself. I was shaking. I couldn't stop shaking. I'm foaming at the mouth. I crawl into my living room and I grab my Kimber 45. I pull it out. It's loaded. The hammer's back. I put it into my mouth. And my phone rings. Now we get a little bit of a humor moment here because you've got to really picture this. All of this has happened. I'm sitting there with a gun in my mouth. The phone rings and it's, well, you got to get that. I mean, this could be important. and so I set the gun down. Well, the guy answers the phone. And I pick it up and I'm shaking and I'm trembling. And I just say, hello? And on the other end, I hear my sister's voice. Now my sister, she took a little different path. She, was flying to London all the time, and she had never called me when she was working. And when I picked up the phone and I said hello, the only words that came out of her mouth were, "What's going on? Something's wrong." And the dike broke. I couldn't hold on to it anymore. I couldn't hold on to all the lies, and I couldn't hold on to the fear. And I just started sharing, this is where I'm at. This is what I've done. Here's all the drugs. Here's this. Here's that. I don't want to live. I just want to die. And she gets on her computer. She gives me a phone number. We chat for a minute. I hang up the phone. I take a picture of myself in that moment. I call a number. And they ask, can you stay clean for 15 more minutes? I said, son, I don't want to live for another 15 more minutes. They said, just walk down to the McDonald's. Just get there. We're going to have someone coming. And I didn't change my clothes. I was a train wreck. I put on a pair of sweats, 2 jackets, a beanie. I looked like the kid off A Christmas Story walking to McDonald's. I get there and I'm sitting down, and all of a sudden, not too much longer later, I feel a tap on the shoulder and I jump up. I'm all paranoid. And he goes, are you Drew? I said, how do you know? He said, son, you don't blend. He said, but don't worry. I can help. You're not that unique, and we can do this. And that was really the start of my life. What I can tell you is I thank God that life isn't fair. And I am so grateful that we don't get what we deserve. Because if life was fair, and if we get what we deserve, then I'm not sharing now. And I'm not able to do a lot of things. Because of the choices I have made. The person that's up here now, I can tell you, I'm a father to 3 amazing kids. I'm a husband to the absolute woman of my dreams. I take that back. I'm married to the woman that is so much more than anything my dreams could have ever imagined, because I never deserved what I have, and I could have never dreamt it. I'm a friend. I'm willing to listen. I'm a mentor. I save lives now. I'm able to go out there and see that pain, and I can let that pain know that it gets better and that there's a chance to enjoy this life. So often as I'm going through networking and part of this community, I hear, well, why do you do what you do and all this? And during this speech, I was asked, that was the big question, like, why am I the way I am? Why do I enjoy life so much? And I had to think about that. It's not just because I had it tough and now things are not tough. The reason I am the way I am is because of all of you. It's because of the people that I meet in the grocery store. It's because my light is absolutely brightest when I share it. And when I share this light and this energy, and all of a sudden I can turn just a normal face or an upset face or even a smile into something brighter, that fills me. That allows me to know that the God within me, around me, higher power, it's working. It's there. And that's the reason I am the way I am, is for us. This is a we thing. You know, the way that I go about life, I don't have to worry about Monday on Sunday. And I don't have to get excited about Friday, because I'm living in this moment. And I'm going to make the very best of it, because every single moment that I have right now is an absolute gift. I shouldn't be able to experience it, but I get the opportunity to. And I get to share that with people like you. And I'll share it when I go out there. And that's what fills me with such gratitude and joy about what this life truly has to offer. I can tell you that it does take work. It's not easy. I wake up every morning, I pray, I meditate, I work out, I read. I like to know what's going on. I have to figure out how I'm feeling and be able to be okay with that and share that. Because the more that I know about me and what's going on, then I can let y'all know how I'm doing, honestly. On the day my dad died, I had no idea he was sick. And he calls me in, and I sit down next to him. And he puts his hand on my shoulder. He says, "Son, don't take life so serious. It isn't permanent. So for now, let's rejoice with what was so freely given to all of us, which is life." I'm so grateful for all of you, and thank you. That's all I got. Are there any questions at all? Except for David, yeah. Well, there is something to that. As David said, and he kind of prefaced, he is currently working on my story. You've heard snippets of kind of what I've gone through, but he's going to be able to really divulge my life, what I've been through, who I am, and why I am the way I am. So I'm excited for it, I guess. We'll see. But are there any other questions at all? Yeah.
How long did your recovery process take?
Oh, it's still going. I mean, I can tell you right now that this is the absolute best Andrew Parrott that has ever walked on this earth. And yesterday was the best. I constantly grow. I absolutely refuse. I still go to meetings. I still have people that I talk to daily. I have people that reach out to me daily. My recovery is everything. I've got a hierarchy in my life, and it goes God, recovery, wife, kids, me, work, and everything else. Which makes it easy, because anything that affects up above negatively, I know I don't need. So my recovery is always, as far as the tough times, is a grueling process. Wait for the book. Are there any other questions? Yeah.
With this process, I mean, how many years ago are we talking with some of what you went through?
Oh, my life really took the downturn at age probably 14 is when things got really bad and then progressively got worse. So, yeah.
Andrew, the part that really got to me was when you started talking about it about your father, and because when you're a parent, there's nothing that compares, and knowing how you influence your children is something that we worry about every day. And so, as a parent, what advice would you give us faced with those challenges that teenagers can present?
That'll turn to longer than my presentation. But, and let me preface this with anyone in here, if there's something going on that you feel that I could help with, I'm here. what I just discussed and that recovery process is the most important thing to me in my life. If you give me a choice between money and saving or helping someone, I will always go to the helping someone. I am not defined by my wallet. I am defined by the human being that I am and what I'm willing to do. As far as being a parent, I've got 3 and one of them's 14 years old, and boy, I wish someone would help me out with that. I can tell you that so much of it is just being able to talk. I give my kids a voice, and not to the extent where they are able to say whatever they want, but let's talk honestly about how you're feeling and what's going on. I mean, my kids are inundated by cliches throughout recovery, and it's comedy, the things that they say. But my best advice is listen. And I don't know if I could have not been an addict. It's what I am. I'm not responsible for my disease. I'm responsible for my recovery. And that's the key. My kids are ingrained with certain things that I can't fix. And some of those things make them. I embrace those and let them all know that they are very much responsible for their enjoyment in life, their recovery. We're all broken. It's just a matter of how are we going to fix it, or at least work on it. If that's it, all right. Thank you so much.
I've got a question.
Go for it.
Back when you say around 14, you think of anything in your life, any moments that kind of put you off the rails? Anything that...
I'm sure, let's not pretend I haven't sat with more than one therapist. There's always something, right? Could I pinpoint a moment that really derailed me? Nothing that I could share in the sense of, just being honest, like at this moment it happened. I mean, you have to realize I work with people all the time, and I'm the blessed one. 16 and a half years of being able to enjoy life and embrace it is amazing. A lot of times what I get to deal with are the people that don't make it. It's the ones that they show up and they reach out their hand and they say, help me, I'm completely broken. And I open up my arms and say, come on in. And they don't show up. And then the next day or the next week, they're dead. Yeah.
Here, David mentioned earlier about everyone having a bucket list. If you were to name 1 or 2 things that's on your bucket list, would you share?
My bucket list is to, in the big picture, as I kind of referenced over there, I love being able to share me and my story and help others. I love doing that. As far as bucket lists go, though, gosh, I have accomplished most of them. I'm like, get an amazing wife, have some amazing kids, get a book about me. Even if it doesn't sell, just having it up on the mountain, well, that's me. And then, I don't know. I'll get back to you on that one. I'm sure they're in there. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh. Gets crazy.
It's kind of a question and a compliment.
Okay.
Happened to run, But you said something about everybody's broken, and there's so much truth to that, you know. And a lot of people are really good at putting on a smile, but people don't know how they really feel. And it's just really refreshing to see someone who's taken their story and willing to share it, and not knowing who it would help. You know, in this very room, maybe, you know, there might be someone that gets something from that, and that's awesome. So thank you for not being scared to share with us who you are. I mean, that's a gift that you're giving back, and I think that's freaking awesome.
Thank you so much. I don't know about the not scared, but if I faked it well, awesome for me. But I appreciate that, and you know, I think you're right. And it's the people that I meet and the people that reach out to me. It's once we get over this mask that I feel like all of you need to see. I'm a pretty happy guy, and I embrace life as much as I possibly can. But I also cry a lot. And, you know, it's just about being honest with this. And that's what makes life, for me at least, most enjoyable. That's everything? I'd go all day. I love this. All right. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you all for coming. Thank you, Andrew, for sharing. I want you to share one more thing, your favorite song, and after he shares it, go look it up on the internet, read some of the meanings about it, and it kind of, I think it could be Andrew's anthem, but I think it could be all of our anthem, and I will close with, put your wetsuit on, come on, come on.
One of my favorite songs in this moment is the Illumineers' Wetsuit, right here.
Thank you, Andrew.
Absolutely. Thank you.